Hello everybody and welcome to Alternative Interactions. I'm Gary. Please like, share and subscribe. I really do appreciate your support and you're sharing my videos out wide and far, so thank you very much everybody who does. Today I'm going to be talking about going back to when we had a little break a couple of weeks ago I guess now, where we went down to Dorset, and that was when we had the Mel had the epiphany about flint and its use. There was more to it, and did a really interesting video a week or so ago regarding flint and its uses as a semiconductor, really, being full of silica. So that's a really interesting one that ties into Tartaria and hidden energy and all sorts of fascinating stuff. So please do check that video out if you haven't already. Again, I must apologise. I think there's a storm coming. It's got very, very dark, very, very quickly, very black, and it's I can hear thunders, rumbling of thunder, and it's just started to rain. So if you do hear any crashes and bangs, it's not me. It's actually Mother Nature saying hello to us. Went to Dorset, and there's an area called Cranborne, a village called Cranborne, and had a very, very interesting church. Didn't really mean to go inside it particularly, but it was open, so we did, and it was very, very interesting what was seen in there. Now, this church was once a monastery and an abbey in its earlier stage, and it was actually built on top of, or part of, extended from Saxon times. So this goes back a long way. The area of religion in this church currently has goes back a long way, as we'll see in a minute. But I was quite surprised what we saw on the walls. Some of it being whitewashed over, but it was very, very surprising. And the stained glass windows as well had a lot of significance. So I'm no expert on deciphering some of this hidden meaning stuff, but I will go through my limited knowledge of what we saw there, and I will be raising some questions about this, bearing in mind it's a church. And my old friend Janice will come up in this. And again, I've done the Janice introductory video, and I really do strongly advise you guys watch that if you haven't already, to try and start to understand the full implications of Janice and what's going on. Because in this video, I'm probably going to be dropping a few bits and pieces that I wouldn't normally. Okay. I'm going to be start being less guarded in what I'm talking about and the connections of. So there we go. So without further ado, we'll get on to do the slideshow. So here we go. So this is the church in Cranborne. Beautiful, beautiful place actually. Now we have a tower. I think this is part of the original building. An extension on, an extension on, and this is an extension on. So it's kind of 1, 2, 3, 4 phases of building, really. But the main part we're going to be looking at, some of these windows are fascinating, stained glass windows. There's a particularly big one on this wall here. We can just about hear the thunder rumbling. But what we're going to be talking about fundamentally is there's some arches in here initially, and the arches in here, there's 3 or 4 arches, and you'll see them in the pictures. But just so you understand that the arched areas are here, and as you walk in through the entrance here, they face you, so they're on the other side of the church currently, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So this is the inside, and this is on one of the support pillars, and it tells you it was once a Benedict monastery, then a priory, and now the parish church, in honour of the Saint Mary the Virgin and Saint Bartholomew. Yeah, so we've got some bits and pieces here of religious chat, as it were. So this is the main placard, and just below it is this, which is I found far more interesting. A Benedict monastery was built here in 930 to replace the old Saxon church. 930. Now that date we'll be looking at in a second. The Norman archway in the porch was made at around 1150, and the nave dates back to 1252, and the font 1260, and the tower was built in 1440. 1440 seems to be a big period in the building. I seem to recall when I was talking about my Flint one and Norwich, I think around that period came up with the Normans, from memory. Notice the barrel roof, and the 13th century frescoes on the south wall. I guess the frescoes are what we're going to be talking about from the 13th century. The pulpit is, well, it's older than 500 years old, and bears the monogram TP for Thomas Parker, the abbot of Shrewsbury and Cranborne from 1398 to 1421. Well, my maths isn't that good, but I think we're slightly over the 500 year mark now. Now, the 13th century doorway in the south wall was discovered in 1927 and restored. I have got a picture of that right at the end, just so you can see. It's the old cloister door, and there's a pearl of 8 bells in the tower, 4 which were hung in 1550. So this church has some very old bells in it, which is lovely to see, but no organ. So the 13th, there we go. The monastery was founded in 1930 by Howard de Melks, and the Abbey of Tewkesbury was put subject to it in 1120. Gladius, abbot of Cranborne, with 57 monks, left here to build the present abbey. So 57 monks built it. So very interesting. It's got some real history, which is fascinating. We then go on to Wikipedia, and it was apparently founded in 980, not 930, and it became an abbey in 1102, which is the only thing actually that Wikipedia has got right about Cranborne. So I've just added this just to show you not really to trust necessarily Wikipedia all the time, because most of the time they haven't got a clue what they're talking about, but it's interesting. Now this is on one of the other walls, and this is the abbot's, and here we see 1102 to 1109, when this is where he became a priory, but it was built at 930. So we have quite a, nearly a couple of 100 years at least with no information about anything, which is quite interesting. But we do have continuous names and dates going all the way through to modern times. Good old Angus Mayhew is the current dude in charge. But it's Cranborne, and it's very interesting that we do actually have a Cranborne in 1314. So I wonder if Cranborne is called Cranborne, was named that in 1314. Fascinating. Love a bit of history, beautiful. Now again, we're going to be looking at these three pillars round here, and obviously this is the extension bit that we've been talking about, and very interesting, very interesting. That hidden door, by the way, is around the back side of this building, from memory, from walking around it. And I did walk all the way around it, by the way. So when we walked in there, there's three pillars, and this is the third pillar, or fourth pillar, and it was the one on the left hand side, the far left hand side. So I've gone for the least glamorous first, to be fair. And now this to me is actually two different pictures over each other, at least, if not three. We have some very well defined legs, and one with a fish, and I've blown it up here a bit more, which is sucking on the blood, I assume, of the calf of the leg of the person this is. This has been whitewashed over and redrawn, and you know, it's a very old church and things have gone on. We appear to have a staff here that is fading out here. A small hand that does not relate to these legs and the knobbly knee, and we have a face here. You see the eye, the nose, the mouth, the jaw, which I think is kind of connected. There we go. Storm's brewing nicely. It's nicely connected to this hand. There's something else going on here I can't quite make out, and there's obviously been something going on here, as well as some of the damage from the damp that we see. But we've got fish or a snake or eels or things going on. You know, it's, to see stuff like that, it's quite fascinating. And, really was. I mean, it's beautiful inside. You know, whatever I say about and start doing this, the beauty of the place, and it didn't have a bad energy. It was you know, there's just the questionable part of the religious side of this, I guess I'm talking about in many respects. But it's a shame that we don't have one or the other of what these are. Like I say, this was the least interesting, but fascinating all by itself, especially as the dude's only got 2 toes on this foot. This was probably the most interesting one. So this is the middle arch. So to the left of this was the foot, and then we have this archway, and on this we have some really interesting stuff. Now this is a holly bush, and holly, as in Hollywood, is pagan, and wands and spell staffs are made out of Hollywood, the holy wood. And so this has many different connotations going back, you know, pagan times and possibly beyond. But what's particularly interesting is here is we have a Pan type figure pulling a maiden off the holly tree, who appears to be growing out of the holly tree. So the holly tree seems to be growing females for Pan to be removing. We also have another at the top with a trumpet type thing. So this is, you know, and we have something going on down here, lady. Now I've got a couple of slides of this where I've tried to sort of like zoom in, and I took lots of different pictures of this, trying to get the best angles with the light that was available. I don't have a professional camera. It's a very old dodgy Samsung, and so professional photography with flash and everything else like that, I think, would make all the difference to this. But it's real life, and is what it is. So we're going to go to this fellow here, and here we can see clearly grasping this lady's arm standing on 2 feet with the tail and the horns coming out. Now remember, Pan, which is actually related to the story Peter Pan. Peter Pan is Pan because remember, he's the child stealer. The inversion of that one being that Captain Hook is the good guy because he's trying to stop Pan taking children. Hollywood film. Very interesting, hey? Doesn't that fit well? Doesn't it? But yeah, here we can see, I mean, there's something going on here as well. I don't know whether this is her being birthed out of the holly tree, or it's very difficult to work out. And again, if you guys in the comments can work out what's going on, there seems to be something coming out the chest of this, whether it's an arm, it doesn't look like it, because anatomically we have some fairly good art. So this could be some clothing, I'm not sure. But the red, I think here, the red pigment definitely signifies some kind of blood, fire, something. Now we also have the top bit here, which is interesting. Now the top bit here, we have a figure here which has got something coming out. I think this is a trumpet. We can see the end of the trumpet here, look. And this figure here again is standing, grabbing a maiden with the 2 horns coming out of his head. So it looks like we have 2 Pans, or 2 demonic entities, taking maidens from the holly tree. So yeah, answers on the postcode too, on the postcard, sorry, too. What is going on there? Very interesting. Now, the lady at the bottom, we appear to have the tree coming out of her head. So is this Mother Gaia, or is this another something or other? We have the one hand up, and we don't see the other hand, but I suspect that hand is going down, and that will have some significance later. We seem to have a cross here which is upside down, and this is a picture of a person, and probably there were other people here. I'm not quite sure what this signifies, whether it's hell or something. And obviously we have the maidens, and that's the devil, Pan, the bottom one, with whatever's going on out from here. I mean, that looks anatomically correct, the arm, hand, head. This doesn't seem to fit. And again, there's something going on here around the feet. Something going on here around the feet and here. You can clearly see it's a holly bush. So yeah, very, very interesting that, and that struck us very, very much as being an oh my god moment. You don't expect to walk into a church and see 2 demonic entities pulling maidens off a holy bush, a holly tree. There we go again. It's a slightly different angle. You might be able to see things a little bit better there. But so there's definitely a trumpet going on here. 2 demonic entities this side. This one could be pregnant. I'm not sure what's going on. Certainly holding something here. But yeah, very interesting. And this is the one to the far right. So the Hollywood tree was in the middle. We had the legs to the left, and we had this to the right. Sorry if you can hear what's going on here. Now there appears to be somebody here, probably holding something. That's the head for sure. Hair, eyes, nose. Stuff going on here. This looks like somebody's got a cloak shielding or doing something with a child. We have people praying with some kind of flowered pattern. There's an angel here with some kind of, could be a blade or something, and again a lady praying with red hair and an angel behind. Again, there's like a face here. There's stuff going on here that's all been wiped out, and I can't quite see it. So if any of you guys can see something that I can't, that's obvious, you know, that there's obviously a line coming down here that was something, you know, please. Again, I took another picture. It's slightly dark, it's slightly better, you can see, but again, it's not really that clear what's going on here, but it's quite interesting. 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3. There's two angels here, there's something going on here, and then there's a maiden here. This could be the divine masculine taking over the divine feminine. You know, this could be a tree here in the middle, or it could just be a stain. As you can see, there's damage. These churches have always been underfunded on purpose. There's no money for the upkeep for the things the peasants do, but the top clergy can sit on golden chairs and thrones, and there's no problem. But the actual structural of these very, very old buildings, I mean, you know, when was this built? I've shown you pictures previously of flint buildings that were built, you know, was it 580 from memory, claiming it? Well, there's no reason why this one couldn't be, you know. This could be over 1,500 years old. A building that's 1,500 years old. Very interesting. Now this is another part of the end. I mean, the church was beautiful in places. I mean, it really was. Again, you can see water damage here. Damage, but this is a depiction of Jesus with the 12 apostles, but we actually have 13, and don't we have the 13 ruling families? Again, there is symbology. I mean, this one is holding a angle which looks like something that could be Masonic. We have the cross here, the X, potentially a sword, wood, just one hand on the knee. I mean, it's and you think I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. Well, there's things I'm going to show you in a minute in the stained glass windows that make you go, ooh, even more so. But beautiful. I mean, what a beautiful piece of artwork, you know. And the church was stunning. So, you know, wow. Now, this was a very interesting thing. And it actually was the only thing in there that really gave us the shivers. And I mean gave us the heebie-jeebies, as we would say in the UK. Real unhappy feeling about this. Now we have the hand up and the hand down symbology. We see this quite a lot. We also see this with bowl. The holding of a book. I'm not sure what that means, but we see it a lot, and I know it's meant to be, you'll say it's the Bible, but as we go through you'll see the symbology. We have INRI at the top. You know, the crucifixion with the stabbing and that. I mean, this is made out of solid metal. this has been laid into a very old, ancient pillar, and I would say it's modern-ish. It does have a crack in it, and it's a solid bit of, it was metal, and there is some tarnishing to this as well, as you can see. But what we do have is the skull and crossbones below Jesus, with the blood dropping into it, which is the 322. Skull and crossbones also is a representation, or was connected to, and is connected to, the Knights Templar, because when the Pope and the French King decided they were going to steal the Knights Templars' loot, they then rose the skull and crossbone, and then became the Pirates of the Sea. And that's where we get the Yale 322 skull and crossbones. It's part of the Knights Templar. So I'm not really sure what that's got to do with that, but it does seem very, very, very strange that the blood is running down into the skull of the skull and crossbones. Really didn't have a nice feel about that one, and that was not nice. Now, I didn't know what INRI meant, I'll be honest with you, so I looked it up. And INIR is an abbreviation for the Latin Isis Nerexus Rex Indlum. And you know me, I'm dyslexic, I'm never going to read that properly. But what it actually means is Jesus, the Nazarene, King of the Jews. Now that's very interesting, because Jesus was never King of the Jews, and the Jews actually hated Jesus. But remember, Jesus wasn't called Jesus back then. He was Yeshua. And Jesus is a modern interpretation. And to put the Jesus and the Jew bit together is very interesting, in my opinion, because Sus is actually Zeus, and G means hail. So it's Hail Zeus, King of the Jews. And that really is. Okay? So I know that's going to trigger some of you. But the parables of Yeshua are very, very interesting, and definitely, possibly the highlight of the entire Bible, barring Revelations currently, because we're in it. But you know, this is very interesting. This energy was very toxic, but also, but Jesus was posted on the cross by order of Roman Procurator Pontius Pilate. And when we look at him, he was the 5th Roman governor of the provinces of Judea, from 26-27 to 36-37 AD. And he's the best known for being the official who presided over the trial of Jesus and not only ordered his crucifixion. Anybody who knows anything about Roman law and how they operated in those days, that would never have happened. Never. Because he didn't have the authority to do that. That would have to have come from Rome itself, not some 5th governor, a governor of a province. He had no authority. The actual emperor himself would have had to have done that, ordered it, and it was a very rare thing to do. So there we go. Again, it's going to upset some people, but if you want to check all this out, please look at the Dark Scriptures playlist of Jason Bashir's of Archaics, where he goes through this in more detail than you could ever imagine, and it's very, very, very enlightening. So You know, I'm only relaying what I believe to be true. Okay, so Pilate's important Christianity is underscored by his prominent place in both the Apostles and the Nicene creeds, because the Gospels portray Pilate as reluctant to execute Jesus. Well, Tiberius would have had to have been the one that done that, and there would be a paper trail for that. Everything was recorded. Because the Gospels portray it as reluctant to execute Jesus, well, he didn't execute him, he stuck him on a cross. It wasn't an execution, was it? The Ethiopian Orthodox, and I can't say that word, church believes that Pilate became a Christian and venerates him as both a martyr and a saint. So it's a belief which is historically shared by the Coptic Church, with a feast day on the 19th or 25th of June respectively. Now this is very interesting. So the man who executed Jesus became a martyr and a saint. That don't make sense to me. And I'm going to leave that one there before I get in more trouble. Now this is one of the end windows, absolutely beautiful. This was all sort of stapled off, so I had to sort of like stand on tiptoe and you know, try not to, but beautiful stained glass windows. And these three guys are actually previous bishops on and such like of the church, Cranborne Church. Again, nothing particular there. They're holding the staff, which is holding the book, staff, and a chalice or cup of some kind of thing, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rays, and you know, they're not. It's okay. You know, there's nothing wrong with that particularly. It's a memorial stained glass window, and it's beautiful. The workmanship on this is stunning. You know, take my hats off to these people who do these. Stunning. Now this is one stained glass window, and this is another. So because they're tall and long, rather than having individual ones on there, I've doubled them up, just a few of them, because again I want to show some things that are of interest. So I can only assume this is Jesus. He seems to be holding a feather or a quill. I can't see his other hand, but he's standing on some kind of raised box with an entrance into the bottom here, with a checkerboard floor which is Masonic, and this lady here, Mary perhaps, hand across the chest, that we see Masonic symbology everywhere, holding the book, but one hand's up, one hand's down. I can't see his other hand. This guy, there's one hand there. Is the other one hidden? I don't know. Again, we have 1 foot out, but it's not on the ground, it's on the Masonic thing. The 1 foot out, I think, has got meaning. I've been trying to do it. Now, something that's very interesting on this photograph, and it's the only one that happens to, you can see the clarity and the clarity, but the top part of this is out of focus. Really strange. Really strange. We have the twin pillars, obviously. So we have the Masonic board, we have the triangle with something in the middle, could be an all-seeing eye. We have an entrance at the bottom here, which is the entrance to hell. And they're standing on the box within the twin pillars of the entrance. And yeah. We have the Trinity above them. We have the same here. Same kind of symbology. I mean, it's beautiful. It is beautifully done. But also there is some real... And again, those of you into your symbology, I'm sure I've missed 100 things on this because it's so interesting. But this one's very, very interesting. And this one was one of the oh my god ones. And here we have a religious figure of some kind. And he's holding the keys. 2 keys. With one hand up and one hand down. Now this one's going to trigger some. But fundamentally this is Janus, the janitor, holding the keys. The twin keys are also the twin keys of the Vatican, but in the X shape. And he holds the keys to the demonic realm and the keys to the doorway or the portal from one place to another. A window is Janus is in the portal because you're going seeing from one thing to another thing. But we also have the M. See the hand, finger, 2 together, 1. This is M. This is a Masonic ritual symbolization. Kind of is there as well, but not really. But we have a very clear M here. One hand up, one hand down. And this is Janus, the janitor, the keeper of the keys. And definitely not a beneficial, loving kind of energy in any way, shape or form. This one we have a sword, again standing over kind of the realm with black and white checkerboard. Black and white checkerboard. The archways of Janus above the head. This is a demonic god in the window of a church. With a demonic or Masonic hand gesture holding the book. This is a scroll and a sword. The sword is mightier than the pen. Is that what this means? I don't know. But when we saw this window, we were like, oh my god. This is Jesus holding the Egyptian staff with a sheep or a lamb. One hand down, one hand up. This is Jesus again knocking on the doorway. So here he hasn't got the key, the janitor, but he's entering into a doorway because he's actually knocking on the door, and he's holding the light. He's the light bearer. Who else is known as the light bearer, I wonder? One hand up, one hand down, in Moloch style or Baal style. Here we have Mary with Jesus, and we have the one hand across the front with the M symbol, again Masonically showing this. Twin pillars, or the four pillars actually. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and the four pillars are very significant because that represents the cover of the world, and Jewish people today get married underneath a four-pillared tarp. You know, three kings. I mean, the work's beautiful, but the symbology is there. And again, I'm only going over this quickly. This was actually one window. It was so big I had to photograph it in two. So this is actually the part of that, and this one is the top part of that. Okay, so they're angled, but it's a four-paned window. Okay, so we have the pillars creating that canopy again with the 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 pillars, which we see in Masonic and other imagery, you know, symbology, imagery. The man is chained, and here we have a female, one hand up, one hand down, with a child. And I get the feeling the child is the sacrifice to Baal. We see this imagery a lot. The one foot stuck out again. Jesus, one finger pointing out. All has significance. Just as this girl's finger is pointing. Here, I think this is actually Mother Gaia, who's been defeated by this and by him. But it's one hand up, one hand down again, with a child, a smaller person. Masonic hand across the chest again, and this fella here with the child I believe is Kronos, which is Father Time, which is also Janus. Kronos, Janus, in his time keeping aspect, always has a small one. It represents the end, the beginning and the end, the transformation of. Janus is the god of births and deaths, which is why Janus is also the Grim Reaper. Kronos is the Grim Reaper. And again we have the 4 pillars over the top creating the archway. And I will give you rest. Very interesting. She's been heavily laden. But this was done in the memory of John Trudwell in 1885. So very interesting. That's the end of my stained glass window look. But what we do also have is we had this in the corner. Very interesting. But what I wanted to take your attention to is these. And I've actually gone to this one here for this one. And there's some masonry on the bottom as well, which I've got some photographs of as well, which I just thought was quite interesting. And obviously this is a memorial from 1693. But what I find interesting is this coat of arms, or this depiction. This is 3 black men. Now you're going to say, oh no, 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 no. They have colour and pigment on this that depicts colour very clearly. This is a black man with 2 swords. It could also be upside down crosses. And the 2 swords are crossed at the top within a triangle. Now this is going to trigger many of you, but King James I, King James I, who rewrote the Bible. We have the King James version of the Bible, very popular. Well, there's a reason why Oliver Cromwell overthrew King James I, and not only because he was being paid by the Jews to do so from Holland, and they wanted to take over the United Kingdom or England and put England into slavery, which they successfully did. The other reason was the fact that King James I was black. I have photos, or I have images, and please Google that. Please Google King James I black, and you'll see. Never taught that at school, were you? But again, 1, 2 pillars, 3, 4 pillars, the canopy, duality either side. I had to put this one on its side, but it's just like further down to the right of this. Now this would have been at the top of the church, and when I touched this, although it looks wood, it was actually metal laid into wood, probably oak. I mean, it was really hard, but it had a very strange feeling to it. And you can see at the top there's like a metal pull bit, but it was very, very interesting, very strange feeling thing, you know. And you can see a gargoyle there, look, with the cross above him, part of the cross of the thing. I'm not saying that was a cross above him, it's just part of the architecture would have gone along there and up. And we have a lovely coat of arms, 2 hands holding the shield, the face of the lady, wings, but quite fascinating, quite fascinating. This is that door that they were talking about. that they rediscovered in 1927 and it was redone. Here we have the X cross. It's a shame all this has been destroyed, because I'm sure there's symbolism and it's very quite important. But all doorways and archways are Janus. You go from one place to another, one area to another. It's a transition. And this is the photograph of mine from the church when we were looking at the layers. Remember we said that it was a capacitor controlling the energy. But it's very interesting now. The clocks that were never original to this just been slapped in over the windows. Look, it's quite funny. Fascinating place. Cranborne, well worth visiting. And let's go back to, here we go. So yeah, quite interesting. I think you'll find that one, and a lot to think about. You know, this symbology and the connection to these so-called modern deities with modern names are not, in my opinion. And you know, there's plenty of information out there and images to look up if you want to start looking at these things and do a little bit of research yourselves. But Jason Brashears of Archaics has got some very interesting information about this sort of stuff, and he lays it out in a chronological way. You know, there's a lot of questions about lots of what we've been told. We have been deceived many times. Many times. So, I hope you enjoyed that one. I would have triggered some of you. Yeah. But the imagery is the imagery. I didn't do it. I didn't make those things. I'm just expressing my belief on what I see from my experience. So, thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate you all watching, and I shall catch you very soon. Bye bye.